You've been lied to. They've told you women never make the first move, that if you don't start the conversation, nothing will happen. That's not true. Women approach men all the time, when the right signals are there. Here's the reality most guys don't see. Women are constantly scanning for cues that tell them you're safe, confident, and worth their energy. The problem? Most men never send those cues. They bury themselves in their phone, stand in the corner, or give off a closed-off vibe without even realizing it. And when that happens, you might as well be invisible. Picture this: you're at a coffee shop, a bar, or an event. She notices you, but she's not going to cross the room unless you make it easy for her. Not by chasing, not by cheesy lines, but by creating a silent invitation she can't ignore. That's where dating psychology and a little bit of Stoic presence come into play. Today, I'm going to show you 10 powerful yet subtle moves that make women feel comfortable walking up to you first. No games, no acting fake, just small shifts in how you carry yourself that change how women see you. By the end of this, you'll know exactly how to flip the script so you're the one being approached. Let's get into it. Number 1. Strong eye contact and a confident smile. Most men underestimate how much can be said without a single word. Strong eye contact paired with a slow, confident smile is one of the simplest, most effective ways to send the "it's safe to approach me" signal, but it has to be done right. If it's too intense, you look like you're challenging her. Too quick, and you look nervous. The magic is in holding the gaze just long enough to let her know you see her, then breaking it with a slow, relaxed smile that feels genuine. Take Mark, 48, a high school baseball coach from Austin. One Friday evening, he was at a wine bar with a couple of friends. Across the room, he noticed Claire, 46, sitting with 2 other women. She glanced his way once, then again. The younger version of Mark might have looked away immediately, afraid to be caught staring. But this time, he met her eyes, held them for 2 seconds, and let a warm smile spread across his face before turning back to his friends. 10 minutes later, Claire was at the bar ordering drinks, and she opened the conversation herself. "So, do you know a good wine to start with here?" That's how powerful this is. When you look at a woman with steady, unhurried eye contact, you're signaling confidence and calm. The smile softens it, removing any hint of threat. In an instant, you've made yourself approachable without saying a word. The psychology is simple. Eye contact releases oxytocin, the bonding hormone, and a genuine smile lowers defenses. Together, they create a micro moment of connection. But for men, the challenge is managing the inner tension. Many guys break eye contact too fast because they fear rejection, or they overcompensate and end up staring, which feels aggressive. Here's where Stoicism comes in. Epictetus taught that we should be indifferent to what is not within our control. In this case, you can't control whether she finds you attractive. What you can control is how you carry yourself. By holding her gaze just long enough, then letting it go with a smile, you're saying without words, "I'm grounded, I'm at ease. You're welcome to approach, but I don't need you to." That's magnetic. Mark didn't need to lean in, wave her over, or send a drink across the room. The look and smile did the work. This works in all sorts of settings: coffee shops, grocery store aisles, even while waiting in line at the bank. The setting doesn't matter as much as the delivery. If you want to try this, start in low-stakes environments. Notice when someone makes eye contact. Instead of instantly looking away, hold it for 1, 2, then smile before breaking it. Don't wait for her reaction, go back to what you were doing. The key is to show that her attention is welcome, but not your only focus. Over time, this becomes second nature. You stop fidgeting, you stop second-guessing whether you look creepy, and you start noticing how often women will bridge the gap once they sense your openness. If you've ever made that connection with just a look and a smile, drop this in the comments. I own the moment. Because once you master this, The next move isn't about your eyes at all, it's about where you put yourself, so she has the chance to make her move. Number 2, position yourself where she can see you. One of the most overlooked parts of getting women to approach you is simple logistics. You can have the best energy, the right look, and perfect body language, but if you're physically out of sight, you're out of mind. Women aren't going to weave through a maze of chairs or shout over a crowd to make the first move. They need a clear, easy path to you. This is why where you stand, sit, or move in a room matters so much. If you tuck yourself into the far corner of a bar or hunch over a table in the back of a cafe, you've made it almost impossible for someone to casually cross your path. On the other hand, when you put yourself in high traffic spots, the center of the room, near the bar counter, along the main walkway, at an event, you're creating constant opportunities for eye contact and small, low-pressure interactions. Think of it as lowering the approach friction. You're not forcing anything, but you're removing the physical barriers that make it harder for her to connect. This is where most men sabotage themselves without even knowing it. They choose spots that feel safe, but safety often equals invisibility. The Stoics understood this principle in a different way. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "What stands in the way becomes the way." In this context, if your environment is blocking connection, your job is to remove the block. Standing in the flow of movement isn't about showing off, it's about making the moment possible. It's also about accessibility. Women feel more comfortable approaching if they can do it without drawing too much attention. When you're in a spot where she can just happen to walk by, it lets her test the waters. Maybe she smiles in passing, maybe she comments on something around you. You've made that possible by being in the right place at the right time. This doesn't mean hovering awkwardly in the middle of the room. Your posture and presence still matter. Lean casually against the bar with open body language. Stand with your shoulders relaxed, facing into the room rather than turning your back. Be engaged with your environment so it feels natural for you to be there. And remember, this positioning works in everyday places too. At the grocery store, instead of parking your cart in an empty aisle, linger a bit in the produce section or near the coffee aisle, spots where people naturally pass through. At an outdoor event, stay where the paths intersect, not hidden at the far edge of the crowd. The goal isn't to chase, but to be seen. That subtle shift changes everything. You stop relying on luck for someone to notice you, and you start making it effortless for the right person to approach. If you've ever had a great conversation start simply because you were in the right place, write this in the comments. I make space. Because once you've mastered visibility, the next step is making sure what she sees invites her in even more. That's where your body language comes into play. Number 3, open up your body language. You can be in the perfect spot, wearing something sharp, and still repel people if your body language is telling them, stay away. Most men have no idea how often they send out that signal. Crossed arms, hunched shoulders, staring at your phone. It's basically putting up an invisible do not disturb sign. Open body language is the silent invitation that says, you're welcome here. It's about making space physically and energetically. That means standing or sitting with your shoulders back, chest open, and arms free. Your feet should be angled slightly toward the room, not closed off toward a corner. Even small shifts make a big difference in how approachable you seem. Let's make this real. Imagine David, 52, a graphic designer from Denver. He's at a Saturday farmer's market, browsing coffee beans. His instinct is to keep his hands in his jacket pockets, head down, and rush through. But today, he does something different. He holds his cup of coffee loosely in one hand, shoulders relaxed, chin up, scanning the scene at an easy pace. A few feet away, Melissa, 49, is sampling bread at a vendor's stand. She notices David not because he's trying to be noticed, but because his posture looks open, comfortable, and ready for interaction. She smiles, He returns it, and a minute later she asks if he's tried the sourdough. That's the difference between being overlooked and being approached. Your body language is broadcasting whether you're approachable long before you say a word. The reason this works goes deeper than just looking confident. Open body language signals trustworthiness and social ease at a primal level. People, especially women, instinctively respond to cues of safety. When your posture is relaxed and open, it lowers barriers and makes starting a conversation feel less risky. One mistake men often make is thinking they need to overcompensate by posing, puffing out their chest, standing too rigid, or taking up excessive space. That usually backfires, making you look self-conscious or even aggressive. The goal is natural openness, not intimidation. David's example shows it's not about forcing yourself to look a certain way. It's about being present in the environment instead of retreating into your own bubble. That's something you can practice anywhere, waiting in line, walking into a party, or even sitting at a cafe. Rest your hands where they're visible, keep your head up, and notice the room instead of your phone. Here's the truth. Women are constantly scanning for social cues. If they catch you in a closed-off position, they're less likely to risk approaching. But if they see openness combined with calmness, they're far more likely to start something, whether that's a smile, a comment, or a direct question. If you've ever opened up your posture and felt the room respond differently, put this in the comments. I'm open now. Because once you've got your body language working for you, the next step is amplifying that magnetism through your interactions with the people and environment around you without even speaking to her yet. That's where the real magic starts to happen. Number 4. Build magnetic social energy. Here's something most men miss. Women don't just look at you, they look at how the room reacts to you. Social energy is contagious, and if people around you are engaged, laughing, or relaxed in your presence, it sends an unspoken message. This man is safe, likable, and worth knowing. That's why building magnetic social energy is such a game changer if you want women to approach you first. The good news: you don't need to be the loudest guy in the room, and you don't need to be on all the time. What you do need is to show that you're comfortable engaging with your environment. This could mean greeting the bartender like you've been there before, chatting with the barista about the coffee roast, or giving a genuine laugh at something happening nearby. Even subtle gestures, nodding in acknowledgement when someone passes, sharing a quick comment with the person next to you, create micro moments of connection that others can see. This is the social proof effect in action. When women see you interacting naturally with others, they can skip the mental question of, is he approachable? Because the answer is already in front of them. You're not a mystery in terms of safety, you've been vetted by the room. The Stoics might not have been talking about dating when they discussed influence, but their principles fit perfectly here. Seneca wrote, "Associate with those who will make a better man of you." In other words, your presence is shaped by who and what you choose to engage with. If you spend the evening closed off, you project detachment. If you spend it actively and positively interacting, you project vitality, and vitality draws people in. Think about the difference between two men at a networking event. One stands alone, checking his phone, waiting for someone to rescue him from boredom. The other is casually engaged, not monopolizing conversations, but contributing just enough to leave a positive impression. Guess which one a woman feels safer approaching? It's almost never the man locked in his own bubble. It's also important to understand the balance. Magnetic social energy isn't about trying to be everyone's best friend. It's about giving off warmth without forcing it. A quick smile to the server, a friendly exchange with a stranger, these are small, effortless interactions that add up to a big signal. You're showing that you're socially aware, confident, and connected to the moment. When you build this energy, something shifts. You'll notice women making more eye contact, positioning themselves closer, or even joining the same conversation you're in. They're drawn not just to you, but to the feeling you create in the space around you. And the best part, this is fully within your control. You don't need looks, status, or the perfect opener. You need presence, and presence is built one interaction at a time. If you've ever felt the energy in a room change because of how you showed up, drop this in the comments. I set the tone. Because once you can draw people in without speaking directly to her, the next step is giving her a reason to cross that final gap, and sometimes all it takes is one small, standout detail that catches her attention. Number 5. Wear one standout piece. Sometimes the smallest detail is what makes the biggest difference. Wearing one standout piece, something that sparks curiosity, can be the silent bridge that encourages a woman to start the conversation. It's not about peacocking or wearing something outrageous just to get noticed. It's about having one intentional element in your look that makes you memorable without trying too hard. Think about how often we search for a reason to talk to someone. A well-chosen piece of style can give her that reason instantly. It might be a unique leather bracelet, a vintage watch, a sharp pair of boots, or even a pocket square with an interesting pattern. It's not supposed to scream for attention, it's supposed to invite it. Take Paul, 56, an architect from Seattle. One evening, he wore a classic navy blazer to a friend's art gallery opening. Nothing unusual there except for the silver lapel pin shaped like an old drafting compass. Across the room, Anna, 5'4", noticed it immediately. She walked over, pointed to the pin, and asked, "Is that for architecture?" That single question opened the door to a 30-minute conversation about design, travel, and how Paul got into his field. Without that small detail, they might have walked past each other all night. The beauty of this approach is that it works in any setting and at any age. It's not about trendiness, it's about meaning. The standout piece should reflect something about you, your work, your hobbies, your history. That authenticity is what makes it interesting. Women can tell when something is genuine versus when it's just for show. This also ties into the psychology of approachability. A unique item gives her an easy, low-pressure in. Instead of opening with something generic, she has a specific, non-threatening reason to talk to you. And because the conversation starts about the item, it naturally shifts to talking about you. Paul didn't have to force anything. The pin did the work for him, creating a natural moment of connection that felt effortless. The Stoics would appreciate this simplicity. As Epictetus said, wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants. In this case, your style doesn't need to be overloaded with flashy details. One well-chosen element is enough. If you decide to try this, think about what you already own that has a story behind it. It could be a ring from a trip abroad, a handcrafted belt, or a jacket you've had for years. The key is to wear it with ease, not to point it out yourself. Let others notice. When you consistently add this touch, you'll start to see how often people, not just women, ask about it. Each time, it's an opportunity to create rapport and leave a lasting impression. If you've ever had someone start a conversation because of something you were wearing, put this in the comments. I spark curiosity. Because once you've mastered the art of giving her a reason to talk to you, the next step is adding a layer of intrigue she can't quite put her finger on, and that's where mystery becomes your greatest asset. Number 6. The subtle touch of mystery. There's a reason mystery is so attractive. It invites curiosity without giving everything away. Women are naturally drawn to men who have layers, who carry themselves in a way that suggests there's more beneath the surface. But mystery isn't about being vague or playing manipulative games. It's about leaving space for discovery. Most men make the mistake of over-disclosing too soon. They think sharing every detail about their life instantly will create connection. In reality, it often does the opposite. It removes the intrigue. When someone feels like they already know you in the first 5 minutes, there's no reason for them to lean in and learn more. The subtle touch of mystery works differently. It's not about hiding who you are, it's about pacing the reveal. Share pieces of your story, but let her connect the dots over time. Maybe you mention that you've been working on a side project, but you don't launch into a 20-minute explanation unless she asks. Or you talk about a trip you took, but only drop one intriguing detail, giving her room to ask for more. The Stoics understood the value of measured words. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The more we value things outside our control, the less control we have." In social dynamics, you can't control her opinion, but you can control the way you present yourself. Choosing what to reveal and when keeps the conversation alive and engaging. Body language plays a big role here too. Mystery isn't just in what you say, it's in how you carry yourself. A calm, deliberate way of speaking, maintaining steady eye contact, and allowing pauses in the conversation all create a sense of depth. You're not rushing to fill the silence. You're comfortable with it, and that confidence is magnetic. You also want to balance openness with subtle restraint. If she asks about your weekend, you might answer, "It was good, did something I've been meaning to do for a while," and then turn the focus back to her. That small pivot keeps you from oversharing while signaling that you have a life that's full and interesting. Here's why this works. When you leave gaps in your story, people naturally want to fill them. It triggers curiosity, and curiosity is one of the most powerful motivators for connection. She'll look for opportunities to learn more, which often means she'll take the first step to engage with you again. It's important to remember that mystery doesn't mean coldness. If you're too guarded, it comes off as distant or disinterested. The key is warmth plus restraint, enough openness to invite conversation, but enough space to keep her intrigued. The next time you're in a conversation, try this. Share something brief but vivid, then let it hang. Don't rush to explain. If she leans in, smiles, or asks a follow-up, you've sparked exactly the curiosity you wanted. If you've ever had someone lean in because you didn't spill all the details at once, put this in the comments. I keep them guessing. Because once you can master intrigue, the next step is turning that curiosity into a playful, shared moment that makes her feel like approaching you is the most natural thing in the world. Number 7. Let the room notice you first. One of the most underrated skills in social dynamics is the ability to walk into a space and let the room adjust to you before you adjust to it. Most men do the opposite. They scan frantically for people they know, rush into conversations, or immediately start trying to make something happen. That kind of energy sends the signal that you're seeking approval. What works far better is to enter with quiet confidence. Give yourself a moment to settle and let people register your presence before you even make a move. Picture Michael, 45, a commercial architect from Chicago. He walks into a wine bar on a Thursday evening. It's busy, but not chaotic. Instead of rushing toward the bar or pulling out his phone, he pauses near the entrance. He takes a slow look around, taking in the atmosphere, the lighting, the energy of the crowd. Then he walks to a corner spot with a view of the room and orders a drink. He doesn't hide in the shadows, but he doesn't push himself into the spotlight either. Within minutes, people start noticing him not because he's loud or flashy, but because he looks composed and fully at ease. This works because in that initial pause, you're signaling self-possession. You're not desperately seeking a place to belong. You belong the moment you arrive. Women, in particular, pick up on that energy quickly. It makes them curious. They see a man who seems comfortable in his own skin, who's not scrambling to prove himself. There's a Stoic layer to this too. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The tranquility that comes when you stop caring what they say, or think, or do, only what you do." This is exactly what's happening here. When you let the room notice you first, you're choosing to focus on your own presence instead of chasing validation. Let's flip the perspective for a second. Imagine Olivia, 41, a marketing director, is meeting friends at the same wine bar. She spots Michael within moments, not because he's making a scene, but because he stands out without trying. She notices his slow movements, the way he leans back slightly as he listens to the bartender, the way he scans the room like he has all the time in the world. Even though she's in conversation with her friends, she finds herself wondering, who is that? Here's the practical takeaway. When you enter a room, resist the urge to immediately engage. Take those first 30-60 seconds to ground yourself. Adjust your jacket, look around, maybe step to the side and take a sip of water. Let your body language communicate that you're assessing the space, not racing to fit into it. And when you do start moving or engaging, do it at your own pace. If you spot someone you know, walk over steadily, not rushing. If you're ordering a drink, place your order with unhurried clarity. Every small movement is part of the impression you're building. The beauty of letting the room notice you is that it creates intrigue before you've even spoken a word. People are naturally curious about the one person who doesn't seem in a hurry to be noticed. Ironically, that's often the person they notice most. When Michael eventually crosses the room to join his friends, Olivia has already built a story about him in her mind. By the time they actually exchange words, the groundwork for attraction is already laid. If you've ever had a moment where someone noticed you before you even spoke, drop this in the comments. I own the room. Because the man who lets the room notice him first isn't playing hard to get, he's just playing by a different set of rules. And in a world full of noise, that quiet confidence is exactly what gets you remembered. Number 8. Trigger curiosity without trying. One of the most powerful social skills you can develop is the ability to spark curiosity without making it look like you're trying. When you can make someone wonder about you, who you are, what you do, what your life looks like without pushing for their attention, you tap into a deep psychological driver. Humans are wired to seek answers to questions. When those questions are about you, people lean in instead of pulling away. Here's the thing most men get wrong. They think mystery is about holding back information on purpose or acting vague to seem interesting. But forced mystery is obvious and, frankly, a little tiring. Real intrigue comes from living your life with purpose, depth, and focus, and letting those qualities naturally show in small, unplanned ways. This doesn't mean being antisocial or cold. In fact, warmth is critical. Curiosity without warmth is like a locked door with no invitation to knock. The most magnetic men are approachable yet not fully known right away. They let people see just enough to want more. The Stoics understood this idea centuries ago. Marcus Aurelius said, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." In other words, stop talking about your qualities and start embodying them. When you are the thing you're trying to present, you don't have to announce it, people see it. And when they see it without you telling them, that's where curiosity starts to grow. So how does this look in real life? Imagine you're at a cafe reading a weathered, leather-bound book. You're not sitting there scanning the room for attention. You're immersed in the words, sipping your coffee, jotting a note in the margin. Someone notices and wonders, what's he reading? Is he a writer? Why that book? You didn't stage any of it for show. You were just doing something meaningful to you, and that's the whole point. Or maybe you're at a gathering, and instead of sticking to one corner or chasing every conversation, you step outside for a moment of fresh air. You're calm, collected, and clearly comfortable in your own space. People notice. Some might even follow, curious about what drew you away from the noise. Again, no performance, just you doing what you do. The key here is restraint. When someone asks about your book, your sketch, your side project, or even your weekend plans, give them enough to keep the conversation alive, but not enough to close the loop entirely. If you tell the whole story immediately, the curiosity evaporates. Instead, you might say, "It's something I've been exploring lately," and let them decide if they want to ask more. This pacing is powerful because it keeps engagement active. You're creating little pockets of mystery that invite someone to step closer, not push them away. You're also avoiding one of the most common traps: oversharing. Too much information too soon removes the intrigue and can even make you seem less confident, as if you're trying to sell yourself. There's another layer to this. The activities or behaviors that spark curiosity should be authentic to you. If you're faking it, people will sense it quickly and the effect is lost. The best way to not try is to actually not try to focus on doing things you genuinely enjoy and allowing them to be visible. Curiosity also builds over time. The more often people see you in your element, engaged, calm, and content, the more they'll feel that pull to connect. And once they take the first step, the interaction starts from a place of genuine interest, not just politeness or convenience. If you've ever had someone approach you just to ask about something you were doing naturally, put this in the comments. I make them wonder. Because once you can spark curiosity without effort, you stop having to think about how to get women to approach you. They'll already be halfway across the room before they even realize they've made the decision. Number 9. Make every move look effortless. When it comes to attracting women and getting them to approach you first, effortlessness is your secret weapon. The moment something feels forced, it loses its power. Women can sense tension, over-preparation, and that try-hard energy from across the room. What they respond to instead is a man who moves through his environment with a calm, fluid confidence, as if everything he does is second nature. Think about the difference between a man who approaches life like a performance versus one who treats it like a natural extension of who he is. The first is stiff, overly calculated, and constantly checking for reactions. The second seems unaware of how magnetic he is, and that's exactly why people are drawn to him. Take Daniel, 42, a high-end furniture designer from Seattle. He walks into a rooftop bar with a couple of friends. There's no dramatic entrance, no scanning the room like he's on a mission. He heads to the bar, orders his drink with a quiet smile, thanks the bartender, and leans casually against the counter. While he's waiting, he adjusts his jacket, turns slightly to enjoy the skyline view, and continues his conversation. Across the patio, Rachel, 39, can't help but notice him. It's not what he's doing that gets her attention, it's how he's doing it. Everything seems unhurried, unpressured, as if he's exactly where he's supposed to be. Effortlessness isn't about doing less, it's about removing the visible strain. You can be intentional without looking intense. For example, if you're holding a conversation, keep your tone even, your posture relaxed, and your gestures measured. If you're moving through a crowd, do it with smooth, natural steps, not rushed or jerky motions. The Stoics had a similar view on composure. Epictetus said, "No great thing is created suddenly." That's true for presence as much as for skill. You don't cultivate effortlessness overnight. It comes from practice, self-awareness, and letting go of the need to prove yourself in every moment. One way to start is by slowing down your actions just slightly. Whether it's taking a sip of your drink, turning to greet someone, or adjusting your watch, give each movement a sense of intention. When you're not rushing, you signal that you're in control of your time and your attention. That control reads as confidence. The same applies to your conversations. Avoid rapid-fire explanations or over-explaining your stories. Speak with pauses, as if you're comfortable letting silence hang for a moment before continuing. Those pauses not only make you sound more thoughtful, they also invite the other person to lean in, literally and figuratively. And here's an important detail. Effortless doesn't mean detached. The magic is in combining ease with presence. If someone speaks to you, give them your full attention. Make eye contact, nod occasionally, and respond with warmth. That balance makes your composure feel inviting rather than distant. Daniel didn't set out to impress Rachel that night. He didn't run through a mental checklist of moves. He simply moved through his evening with a quiet self-assurance. That natural flow made it easy for Rachel to approach. She didn't feel like she was interrupting or stepping into a performance. She was joining a moment. If you've ever had someone approach you because you looked like you belonged exactly where you were, put this in the comments. I move with ease. Because when you make every move look effortless, you're not just more attractive, you're more approachable. And that's when women stop seeing you as another guy in the room and start seeing you as the man they want to talk to. Number 10. The unspoken invitation. There's a kind of signal you can send without a single word, an unspoken invitation that makes a woman feel not only welcome to approach you, but almost compelled to. It's subtle. It's not a stare, not an obvious gesture, and definitely not a rehearsed pickup move. It's more about creating a small but clear opening in your energy that says, if you want to step into my space, you can. Most men don't realize this is a skill. They either lean too far into trying to signal interest, which can come across as needy, or they close themselves off completely, which makes them look unapproachable. The sweet spot is in the middle, open enough to invite, solid enough to hold your ground. Imagine you're at a gallery opening. You're taking in a piece of art, genuinely engaged. You shift slightly to the side, making physical space without moving away entirely. Your body is angled so that someone could comfortably join you without feeling like they're intruding. Your posture is relaxed. Your expression is easy. Maybe there's even the ghost of a smile. You don't look at her directly, but you're not blocking her out either. This is the unspoken invitation in action. It works because it plays on a deep human instinct. People approach where they feel safe and welcomed, not pressured. By creating that small gap in your physical and emotional presence, you give her the opportunity to step in of her own free will. That choice makes the interaction feel organic rather than manufactured. The Stoics understood the importance of presence without force. Seneca once wrote, "Let silence be your goal for the most part. Say only what is necessary, and be brief about it." Applied here, it's about letting your presence speak for itself without cluttering it with excess words or exaggerated gestures. You don't need to announce that you're open to conversation, you just need to be open. Part of mastering the unspoken invitation is understanding your environment. If you're in a busy space, position yourself in a way that's visible, but not blocking a path. If you're in a more intimate setting, make sure your body language signals that you're approachable. Shoulders back, arms relaxed, head slightly turned toward the room. Small, deliberate movements like stepping aside to look at something or leaning just enough to leave space can be powerful triggers for approach. It's also about managing your internal state. If your mind is racing with thoughts like, "Is she going to notice me? Should I do something?" that tension will leak out in your body language. Instead, ground yourself in what you're doing. Enjoy the setting, focus on your surroundings, and trust that your presence is enough. That quiet confidence is the foundation of the unspoken invitation. This isn't about passively waiting either. You're still an active participant in the social energy of the room. Maybe you're exchanging light conversation with a friend. Maybe you're laughing at something happening nearby. You're showing you're connected and engaged, but not so absorbed that you've closed yourself off. It's a balance of focus and availability. When done right, the unspoken invitation feels like an unbroken thread between you and her before a single word is exchanged. She picks up on it subconsciously, the slight angle of your body, the ease in your expression, the fact that you're clearly enjoying yourself but haven't locked yourself in a private bubble. It's subtle enough that she can approach without feeling like she's stepping into a trap, and intentional enough that it doesn't happen by accident. By the time she walks over and says something maybe about the art, the music, or even just the atmosphere, she's already comfortable. She's stepping into a space you've made ready for her without pushing her toward it. And that makes the connection feel natural, mutual, and genuine from the very start. When you can master this, you'll find that the best conversations often begin without planning, without effort, and without a single line spoken in advance. Because sometimes the most powerful way to invite someone in is to simply be the kind of man whose space they want to enter. That's it. 10 powerful, proven ways to naturally draw women toward you without chasing, forcing, or pretending to be someone you're not. If you've been paying attention, you'll notice every single one of these scenarios comes back to the same core principles: self-assurance, presence, and authenticity. When you combine those with the subtle psychological triggers we've talked about, you don't have to compete for attention, because attention comes to you. If this video gave you new insight or reminded you of something you already knew deep down, then it's time to put it into practice. Remember, confidence is built through action, not just theory. Make sure you subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next video. And if you want to go even deeper into Stoicism, attraction psychology, and building an unshakable mindset, join our Stoic Brotherhood community. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow.